Jumbo, good morning guys. My name is Goose and I'll be your driver today. Above your heads you're going to find the animal spotting guides. They show you some of the first animals that we're seeing here on the reserve. We may not see them all, we may find some extras, you never know. Just have those cameras ready at all times on your fastest capture mode. And it is going to get pretty bumpy while we're out there, so please for your safety make sure you're not standing up. Goes further we're stopped or moving. And please keep your stuff on the truck. If you drop something, it's more than likely to get run over before the animal keepers can go and grab it. So fair warning, just keep it on the truck nice and safe. Now we're just going to hang tight here. Once this light flashes for us, we're going to be all good to go. In the meantime, you can pick a favorite animal from that game spotting guide. Give yourself a sense of purpose. Make it your mission to find at least one of those while we're out there. All right, but there's that flashing light. It's time to go. We start our safari adventure a little bit slow. We're starting off in the Ituri forest, and this is where you're going to find those really shy African animals. I see some kudu already straight ahead of us here. And over on the right, look at that okapi on the bottom left corner of the hill. Now, the okapi is a very interesting animal. It is the only animal on Earth related to the giraffe, but they're a lot smaller and have a much different pattern because they don't live out in the grasslands. They live here in the forest, so they have to blend in here. They do have a lot in common with their cousins. So if you look on top of this one's head, he's got little nubs. Those are called ossicones. The only two animals on Earth with ossicones are male okapi and male and female giraffes. That's what kind of alerted scientists that those animals might be related when the okapi was first discovered in 1901. Now back over here on the left, those are the greater kudu, the second tallest African antelope. They can be about 5 feet tall at their shoulders. These you can tell are a pair of females because they don't have horns. Not even little ones, they also don't have beards. The males have both. Their horns, though, are about 5 to 6 feet long, and they spiral. They're said by many to be the most beautiful African antelope. Then sticking to the left-hand side here, we find this big watering hole. We're going to try to find the black rhinos here. Black rhinos are super rare. Less than 5,000 left on Earth at the moment. There's also a bongo on the right walking on top of the hill. Probably have some friends out there on the other side, so we'll check for them too. There's a black rhino napping here on the left. It is facing away from us though. It's right past the pile of dirt across the water. They're going to weigh 3,000 to 4,000 pounds and are considered a browser, which are animals that eat leaves. So they've got a skinny face and their top lip looks like a beak, which is going to help them to grab leaves. And we find more bongos here on both sides of us. Bongos are the largest African forest antelope, and they're often referred to as the ghosts of the forest. They're really good at hiding. They're only really visible when they're out looking for food and water. They are relatives of the greater kudu, but are obviously slightly different. Every single bongo is going to have horns that go toward the back of its head and make one full twist. Those horns are going to help them to move through the bushes freely without getting stuck. There's an adult male back there too. He's got perfect horns, fully developed.
Right in there. There's one, there's two. There's one too.
All right, well, let's head on down here to the Safi River. The Safi River is home to the most dangerous African animal, the hippo. Hippos are extremely territorial animals. They'll pretty much attack anything that ends up in their waters. They'll even launch out of the water and try to flip over boats. So as we're turning here, keep your eyes on the water. Toward the front of the truck here on the right, there's 2 tree stumps sticking out of the water, and then there are some hippos right there.
Water. Birds standing on the hippo.
Let's pull up a tiny bit more. There's some on the left too. That way everyone can see some hippos. There we go. So even with the water distortion, you see the hippos are very large. They weigh over 5,000 pounds. They're going to stay in the water for the majority of the day to avoid overheating, and they're going to leave the water at night to look for food. They're not going to stay with their group at night, though, because everyone wants to get enough. They'll all eat over 100 pounds of food. But they do keep in contact with each other, making a sound called a weesonk.
A weesonk.
Oh, I am not even going to try. That black bird there on the left that's kind of shiny right at the beginning of the island, white-breasted cormorant. It's a bird that can swim, but it doesn't have really good waterproofing well, so then it has to dry off in the sun. Lots of pelicans down there too. They've got some nests at the end of the island. It's the tail end of their mating season right now. The mating season is the only time of year they're going to have pink feathers under their wings and on their backs. That way they can attract their mates. And another hippo here, fully submerged. They can hold their breath down there for up to 8 minutes at a time.
Wow.
And they just kind of sink to the bottom. So when they're moving underwater, it's usually walking. We're going to go ahead and cross over the croc bridge here to get us a little bit closer to the next ecosystem. You find some Nile crocodiles right beneath us, right here on the shores and in the water. Full grown, they can be up to 20 feet long, so about as long as a giraffe is tall. And they're cold-blooded, so when it's really hot out, you may find a couple of them hanging out with their mouths open. That's going to let their excess body heat flow out. Underwater, they can stay fully submerged for about 2 hours at a time. They won't really move during that time. They don't really move very much at all unless they're looking for food. We're going to head over here to the Serengeti grasslands. We're going to try to find those really big, really popular African animals like the giraffes and the elephants. The first turn we take into the grasslands has us elevated so we can kind of scope out some animals from up there. So coming up on the right-hand side of the bottom of the hill, there's going to be some wildebeest and some Ankole cattle. Then up on the left, you see some giraffes too, right past the animal keeper truck. The Ankole, though, coming up here at the bottom of the hill, they're a symbol of wealth in Africa. So despite being cows, people don't eat them, they don't make them dairy cows, they just kind of keep them to show off. They're going to have anywhere from 25 to 40 pounds of horns on their heads. And their horns are their cooling system and also where you find their sinus cavities. So we'll see where we can get a good look at the giraffes, so we can make a photo stop, hopefully. But if they're too close, we're not going to stop, just so that they don't lick the truck. But we'll check on the left-hand side here really quick. We're going to see if we can spot some predators. Look over this hedge. There's some painted dogs by the watering hole up ahead, straight ahead of us there. And we're also going to see the giraffe really close on the right, but again, a little bit too close for us to stop. Still get a good view as we're rolling by. But there go the dogs, a little bit easier for us to see. They're the most successful African predators. They're called wild dogs, painted dogs, African wolves. They have lots of different names, none of which are hyena. These guys are canines. So you see the giraffe reaching with that tongue. The tongue can be about an inch long for every foot tall that they are. And the tongues aren't pink, which is an adaptation that's going to help them to not get a tongue sunburn since they're eating for about 80% of the day. More here on the left-hand side. You see the ossicones here, just like on the male okapi earlier. Giraffes have ossicones from birth, but they're not perked up like this and made of bone immediately. It's going to take about a week for that to happen. And they use those to fight. Now the males are the ones that fight the most. They're usually going to take the hair off of their ossicones by scraping them on trees. That way when they're fighting, they can inflict as much damage as possible. And some sables on the left-hand side, sable antelope. One of the very few animals on Earth without a flight response. They defend themselves against predators and other animals that mess with them. Then on the right, you're seeing a giraffe that's laying down. That only is going to happen on reserves and in zoos where the giraffes feel safe. They know they have no natural predators here. But in the wild, they do everything on foot, from sleeping to giving birth. All done on foot. Every single giraffe's going to have about 2,000 spots. And each one has its own pattern. The type of spots, though, depends on what kind of giraffe they are. On the reserve, the Maasai giraffes here, they're going to have a really messy spot pattern with lots of jagged edges. But the reticular giraffe, on the other hand, has a very clean pattern. It looks almost like a net. And then you see the tail hair, very thick, about 15 times as thick as human hair. And in Africa, it is one of the reasons that they're poached. It's used to make jewelry and fishing nets. Still seeing the Ankole off on the right-hand side. The wildebeest coming up on the right as well as we're turning.